I think there's really two reasons that STEAM education is a little bit controversial. I think the first is just that change is always going to be hard for teachers to deal with. We have a lot going on. Anytime there's going to be something new, for those who've been in education a while, it's like, is this the next thing? For instance, STEM already happened, and then now we're changing to STEAM, so we're adding more and more and more. So I think there's that. There's also the fact that the STEAM movement, I'm not sure it's as much of a movement from teachers as it is from more scholarly people who don't spend a lot of time in classrooms but write about what we should be doing in classrooms. And while that's fine, and we can definitely learn from those people how to improve our practices, we also are the ones that have, I have about 170 students on my come in my room every single day. So I've got to manage that practical side of it as well as wanting my students to do something authentic and have something noteworthy that they've created. So I think that's the main source of controversy with STEAM and why some teachers support it and some are a little bit more skeptical. I think the coolest thing I found when researching STEAM education was what's called a makerspace. This is something I wasn't really familiar with, but really intrigued me when I heard about it. Makerspace is basically this area that different schools and sometimes other organizations are making, where students can come, people can come and create things. And that's the main thing that these people have in common is there's things that they want to make, and maybe they don't have the supplies to do that. And so they pool their resources. Some of them have membership fees that you can pay to be a member, and then you can use all kinds of different things from 3D printers to laser etchers, things that like a die cast to cut metal, button makers, all kinds of different things. And when I heard about those, I just thought that sounded really cool that they were doing that in schools and gives kids a really neat opportunity. A lot of students who are on an academic track, like myself, like I was in high school, you don't necessarily get those opportunities to create things. Like I was in physics and chemistry and all those theoretical classes, but I didn't necessarily get a chance to just make something with that knowledge. And I think that's what the cool thing about a makerspace is. So I think we can give students that opportunity because a lot of our students, like we offer here woodworking and automotive and construction, but a lot of times those classes are 3 hours long. So it takes up a lot of space in a student's schedule. So if they're not planning on doing it in a vocational manner, then it's not necessarily something that they can spend their time on. Another thing I liked about a makerspace is a lot of schools are using their libraries in order to create that space for students. And when I was in school, we used the library quite a bit for books and because the computers were there. And now everybody kind of carries their device with them all the time. So that space, and I mean, our high school has really nice big space for the library, but it goes unused quite a bit. So I thought it was neat that they're repurposing that to create a space where students can make things and use it in that way. And I thought that was something that was neat. So I looked into we have a beautiful new library here in Joplin, and so I was like, I wonder if they have a makerspace. So I went to their website and I found out that they actually do have one, and it is 100% free. You don't need a library card. It's first come, first serve, and then I think after you've been a few times, you can make an appointment to use a certain tool that you might want to use, something like that. So that was a really neat thing to find. I definitely want to take my son there and check that out further. So I think makerspaces have a lot of potential for schools and engaging students. STEAM education is going to grow quite a bit in the future. I think it's an idea that appeals to people. Learning about all those things at once makes sense from a practical perspective and even from a teaching perspective. Having students see how those different topics work together and not just maybe not quite as segmented as what we have now. I think what that's going to look like at the high school level, you're probably going to have more collaboration with teachers. Maybe we're working on a problem that we're going to work on that problem in several different classes. So for instance, maybe you're working on a problem in science class and you're gathering data about it and you're designing a solution. And then in my math class, we're analyzing that data and we're kicking it back to science. And then they're using that data to try to create a better solution for that problem. And they're modeling things, designing things as they do that. And then when we're finished with that, they use technology to express what they learned. And then maybe they write about it in English class. And all of those things can be happening about that one kind of core problem. And I think you'll see more and more of that happening as time goes on. Now, the challenge of that is that not all of those kids are going to be in the same kind of core group. So I think that's going to be the problem with it, is a lot of different levels. Even in my algebra class, algebra 2 class, I'll have everywhere from 9th to 12th grade. So getting that kind of core group of students to go through and do that together is going to be a challenge. I think that one of the things you could see, especially in the state of Missouri, is you might see a STEAM kind of charter school where they do all their curriculum like this, and some students who are wanting to go into this area would specifically go to that school. And I think that would be a lot easier, because you could take maybe your 25 students who all have that same interest, and you could keep them together and they could do these problem-based units of study together. I think at a traditional high school, you're always going to have the problem of the amount of volume of students that we deal with. So I think it's going to be difficult to do that. Now, for me personally, as I thought about what I wanted to do for my students going forward, what I would really like to see is maybe I can come up with one kind of authentic problem like that we can do, and we can solve it. They can gather data, they can go through reiterative cycles and kind of problem solve, and then I can have them write about it, I can have them create videos about it, have something that's at least once that they can do that. And I think that's something that's practical. Maybe it's not the revolution that some like STEAM professor might want, but I think it's something that I can do and that a lot of teachers can do and that students would enjoy and really, really benefit from. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm pretty excited about STEAM education in general, and I'm really looking forward to checking out Makerspaces.